Tony Messenger, must-reading at stltoday.com. Whether you agree or disagree with him, must-reading. He always brings up a point that you can chew on and debate. Tony, thanks for checking in, as always.
McGraw, who would ever disagree with me?
I don't know. Talk to your wife. I get you quite a bit, probably.
You may be onto something there.
There you go. All right. Let's first talk about this transit planning is back in the news. At last we left it, Steve Stenger and the city were a little bit of a grudge match over the fact that no one really brought him into the topic of conversation. Where are we now with all this?
Well, what's going on right now is East-West Gateway is in the process of seeking bids to do the advanced study on the north side, south side Metro Link, the route that I believe and that most transit experts believe has to be the next route built in St. Louis and absolutely could be a huge game changer for transit and economic development in St. Louis. That study is going to go on at the same time. 3 other studies are going to go on to look at the routes that County Executive Steve Stenger said he's interested in looking at in the county. What's interesting is those are completely different studies. North-South Metro Link has already been studied extensively, environmental impact, all that kind of stuff. This is a study to look specifically at where the route would go and whether changes need to be made to accommodate NGA going in north side. So this is an advanced $2 million study to move north-south down the road to where it's ready to try to gather some federal funding. The other studies for those county routes are basically looking at, are these things feasible? Is there enough population in that area to justify federal funding for a route and to get people to jobs? So the Parking Commission last week voted to spend $2 million to fund the north-south study. That's going to happen. The other ones are going to be funded by the county. I wrote a column Monday that basically tried to look to a place of compromise to get Mr. Stenger that the north-south route is the only route that has to be conversation. That has to be first.
Tony, you're cutting out. We'll let you sort of get back here in a second. Tony Messenger with us from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch talking about this north-south route and all these new studies that are going on. Tony, are you there? We lost Tony. We should just
reddialing.
We'll get him back on the line. But this north-south route that goes all the way from North County up close to sort of 270 in North County, up in Florissant, all the way down past 70, down through Natural Bridge, through that NGA site, through downtown, and then all the way through South City.
We have him back.
All the way down through to Revis Barracks and Lindbergh, all the way down 55 towards 270. So that goes all the way from 270 up north in North County, all the way past 270 in South County. That sort of divides the city of St. Louis. Tony Messenger, are you back? We're not back.
I think we've lost him.
We have him.
Oh, Tony, are you there?
I'm here. Sorry, did I go out?
Oh, somebody disagreed with you and somebody hung up on you. Maybe it was somebody from
I hate when that happens.
From your phone plan. But your point is, though, that you think that this north-south route is vital to St. Louis's growth. Why?
It's vital to the growth because it takes advantage of the density that we have in the south side and the potential we have for business growth that some of which we're seeing right now in the Cherokee area, in the Tower Grove area, and it connects that population and that area that is ripe for some redevelopment to the rest of the Metrolink line, to potential jobs going on in the north side with NGA, and it also creates, great potential for some redevelopment on the north side. But the key is, and this is where I think St. Louis has to grow as a city. There's no doubt that that's the route that has to happen next. All the transit experts will tell you that there's no transit growth in St. Louis without the north side, south side route. So the play for Steve Stinger is to say, okay, I'm going to come on board with north side, south side, but which of these other county routes also make sense? Let's do both of them. Let's not do either or. Let's do both. Let's do and. And that's the play for St. Louis. We're behind on transit, and if we're going to grow as a city and attract millennials and take advantage of some of the wonderful things this community has going on, we've got to build that north side, south side route and start now.
Tony Messenger, we're talking billions. I mean, we're talking 17, 18, $20 billion for this north-south route. There are people.
No, we're talking about $2 billion.
$2 billion. Okay, $2 billion. That's a lot of money. Can't that $2 billion be spent, and can't the resources be spent better in the region than a Metrolink extension?
I'm not sure that there's a better investment other than education. I'm always a fan of putting money into education, but our state legislature and our governor don't seem to endorse that thought to the extent that I do. But the transit route can do so much to help our impoverished neighborhoods, to help people get to work, to help employers, to help the overall business community. It's 10 times the investment than a stadium project would be for whatever sport. It's 10 times the investment that tax credits to Centene would be or any other company. Transit development works, and it's important, and it helps move people in the community and connect them to jobs. It's absolutely a tremendous opportunity economically in this city.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Tony Messenger. Tony, interesting stuff to chew on. If everyone agreed to everything and all the funding was there, how long are we talking before any shovel hits the ground in all this?
Close to a decade, or we'd at least be talking about maybe a decade before the trains are moving, not necessarily before the shovel hits the ground. I mean, you've got to do two things. You've got to attract the federal government to get some funding, and the fact that we're in a promise zone area helps in that regard. But you've also got to decide, how are we going to do this locally? When is St. Louis going to St. Louis City, St. Louis County, Jefferson County, St. Charles County, Franklin County, Lincoln County, the counties across the river in Illinois? When are we as a region going to start doing things as a group? And if we do that, building transit isn't that difficult.
St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist Tony Messenger, and joins us every Tuesday and Thursday. Tony, thanks for checking in. Drive safe. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, McGraw.
825, Big 550.